Well, after 2 whole years of delays, the comic book movie event we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. Morbius. What? You're not excited? How can you not be excited? Guys, this is a Marvel legend we're talking about here. I mean, that's what it says on the poster, so it has to be true, right? Right? Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that part first. If ever there was a movie that was hilariously transparent about Amy Pascal's absolute desperation to sit at the cool table with Kevin Feige and Sony's complete inability to rein this woman in no matter how many idiotic decisions she makes, this was it. And that was obvious because of the advertising. The marketing campaign shot this movie in the foot. There were tons of things in the trailers that teased potential connections in the movie to Spider-Man and to Venom. There was the growing presence of Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes in there as we got closer to release. All of it done to bait the audience with something the movie was never going to actually deliver. Or maybe it thought it was going to deliver those things at one point, but then the studio stepped in and decided not to play that card when they realized what kind of movie they had on their hands here. Because guess what? None of those teases from the trailers are in the movie. Now, Michael Keaton is in there technically, but it's for maybe 30 seconds. He got more screen time in the trailers than he does in the movie. And sadly, what they do with him is the stupidest part of the entire thing. And then there was this cute little tagline that sure looks like it was slapped on that poster at the last minute in a desperate attempt to drum up interest, not unlike a certain film back in 2016 had Answer the Call slapped on it when they realized far too late that their advertising had epically shit the bed. And I don't know why they even bothered with this, because all it did was expose how nakedly clueless these people are. Marvel legend? It's fucking Morbius, for crying out loud. This is not a major character. He was a supporting player in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I think he had his own book for a minute, but it didn't last long. And what's he done in the 21st century? Not much. So the fact that this movie even got made in the first place is kind of hilarious to me. If you wanted any chance whatsoever of making this work, you needed to be really smart about it. And by smart, I don't mean hiring the writers of Gods of Egypt. Holy shit. I doubt anybody expected much from this thing, including the studio, because their interference fingerprints are all over it. It's obvious that coming up on the release date, they went into damage control mode after deciding they had a stinker on their hands. But that's where it gets interesting, because I don't think they did. Not completely. The problem with Morbius is not that it's bad. The problem is that it's not very good. Turns out those are different things. And hey, look, at the end of the day, it's pretty much the movie most of us thought it would be, but there are parts of it that kind of work. The 3 leads I quite liked. Jared Leto? Look, the guy's got some wacky performances on his resume, but I was impressed with what an effective and charismatic lead he made when he was just playing it straight for a change. Matt Smith? I didn't really agree with some of the choices he made here, but he looked like he was having fun, and him and Leto have a lot of on-screen chemistry. They have some good scenes together in the first half of the movie. And the girl who plays Morbius's love interest? You know what? Never seen her in anything before, but I look forward to seeing her in something else in the future. She was solid. So you had 3 strong leads here that were probably better than the movie deserved, a respectable supporting cast too. They were able to elevate a good deal of this along with some pretty competent work from the director, and those are the main reasons why the movie isn't a lot worse. Because then we get to everything else. This feels like a project that would have been a lot more timely if it had come out in the late 90s, early 2000s, when everyone was trying to be all dark and edgy. This would have fit in pretty well with Blade and Underworld and stuff like that. But now it feels weirdly behind the curve. 1, because of the tone, and 2, because the story is basically copied and pasted from every generic paint-by-number number superhero flick made in the last 20 years. Comic book movies have gotten a little more sophisticated since then. Maybe not a lot more sophisticated, and certainly not all of them, but this formula has been done to death, and we kind of expect them to be smarter than this now, or at least try to be. This story is so formulaic, you can see every plot point coming 10 minutes before it happens. And this is what annoyed me, because there are parts of this movie that want to be good, that are trying to work, but they can't because the script just isn't smart enough to allow for it. There's a scene where they're trying to set up the villain that should be really tense and mysterious and shocking, but it isn't because you can see the twist coming. There's another scene that should be sad and tragic and heartbreaking, but it isn't because you can see the twist coming. Another scene is a sequel-bait cliffhanger that should be really surprising, but it isn't because... you get the idea. Just about every time there's a scene that could have taken the movie from here to here, it just gets undermined over and over by this stuff. And it's kind of the same thing all over. Like, there's some sloppy character work with the guy Matt Smith plays. And once he develops into what he develops into, I started wondering how the hell he got from point A to point B. I didn't really buy that. Did not feel organic, but he kinda saves it with his acting, so I can't shit on it completely. The action scenes are not the worst I've seen lately. It's nothing amazing, but they're not terrible. They're just weighed down by some dodgy looking CG, which really should have come off better considering they had 2 extra years to work on it. But even though some of the CG isn't the greatest ever, the actors work so hard to sell it that I didn't mind so much. In fact, that kind of encapsulates the whole movie. It's not great, not exactly terrible either. There are some pieces of a good movie. They don't really fit together, but at least they're in there, which saves it from being the total train wreck it might have otherwise been. And all of that adds up to a film that is exceptionally mediocre. This is an utterly okay movie that you won't love, you might not hate, and you will have pretty much forgotten about by the time you're home from the theater, which in this day and age, unfortunately, is the same as being bad. And speaking of bad things, the end credit scenes. There's 2 of them, and oh my god, they are so f***ing dumb. If the 3 leads got the movie from here to here, then the end credit scenes dragged it all the way down to here. What were they thinking with these? Not only are they horribly written, not only are they incredibly stupid and full of plot holes, not only do they make no sense whatsoever in the context of the movie, they don't even make sense in the context of the other movie they're connected to. And I 100% think the studio knew that. I think they knew how asinine this was. They knew it didn't work, which is why they cut the role of a certain character who was quite visible in the trailers down to almost nothing. They were trying to minimize the damage that Amy Pascal was about to do with this idiocy. Even though the movie had managed to at least be inoffensively disposable up until that point, this just sealed the deal that Pascal hasn't learned a damn thing. She's still dead set on making that Sinister Six movie happen after that's what killed the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and she still doesn't have a goddamn clue how to do it. In fact, her efforts to make it happen are actually getting stupider as time goes on. I mean, Jared Leto did an admirable job here with what the movie gave him, but no one's gonna give a rat's ass about seeing Morbius again. And do you think that's gonna get any better in the Kraven movie or the Madam Web movie? Get the hell out of here. Morbius might not have been a total disaster, but it isn't good enough to be worth much of your time, and I see no reason why it needed to be made in the first place, especially since it seems to have mostly been in service of setting up that godforsaken Sinister Six team-up movie that Amy Pascal won't give up on, which looks to be every bit as ill-conceived as the Sony Spider-Verse has been since day one, if not more. The day Marvel gets those rights back and Kevin Feige puts an end to this woman's jackassery once and for all is gonna be a great day. Thanks everybody for watching, and while you're here, leave a comment down below to let me know what you thought about Morbius. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. Weekly streams for Moon Knight as the new episodes drop are going to be starting soon, so be sure to subscribe to my live streaming channel as well. Links to everything are right down there. And most importantly, don't forget to thumbs up the video, share, subscribe, and make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to be turned into a horror horrifying, blood-sucking freak in a movie that will most likely have faded out of the public consciousness by this time next month is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now, but I'll be back with more very soon, so stay tuned for that, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.